Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pirate Podcast in association with Great Days Golf, hosted by me, Mike Jones, aka Captain Pirate. I'm on a mission to just show disabled people what they can achieve if they put their mind to it. And the podcast was a fellow director of Great Days Golf, Sean Harley, his brainchild. He does a great podcast called The Tuesday Club, and he basically encouraged me to have a go myself, and I've really enjoyed it. We're coming up with episode 10 now, and as I said, the key factor is showing people with a disability that you can do anything you put your mind to, and golf is a great sport. It's given me everything, and if it wasn't for large organizations like England Golf and Wales Golf, the R&A, EDGA, the European Disabled Golf Association, they do fantastic work. And one of the guys that I've met on my journey is the head of diversity and inclusion at England Golf, and that's Jamie Blair. And so he's on the podcast with me this evening. I'm really looking forward to talking with him and discussing the fantastic work he does. He really is setting an example to a lot of people on what you can do to make golf as inclusive as possible. So sit back, listen, and enjoy this week's episode of the Pirate Podcast with my special guest, Jamie Blair. Anyway, I think I better introduce you, Jamie. We've been talking a while. So just to everybody who's listening, not a huge audience, Jamie, but we're trying to reach the right people. I'm trying to show disabled people what they can do, that their disability doesn't have to be a limitation. Golf is fantastic for that, and it's opened up all sorts of doors for me. And Jamie, you're heavily involved in that, as I think I got to see if I can get the title right, because I've been looking up to see exactly what you're called. So is it inclusion? And oh my God, see, I never get it right, because I've seen about 3 different things. I don't want to say head of disabled golf in England Golf, because that doesn't sound right. I'm sure that's not right.
No, it's to be fair, it's changed. So what I started 8 years ago as a disability officer, sort of evolved into disability manager, which just sort of sounded better for the kind of the area we're looking after. And got Wellbeing as part of that, which was the golf and referral work that we were doing, and in January, in line with new strategy, and obviously, kind of come out with the words. So my title is now Diversity and Inclusion Manager. So
that's the one.
Disability stuff, yeah. So the inclusion bit, we kind of changed. Actually, my equivalent, Australia, Christian, they'd started to use that word rather than disability in the title, just because it almost sort of said, well, if we say disability, it almost leaves it with that one person and makes it feel like it's always something else that's happening, rather than it does just being part of what should happen. Yeah.
Like I remember we had a meeting with Edgar down at the golf club where I'm trying to think of the name of it now. I can't remember. It was an RSMD with Edgar, and we had a meeting afterwards at the hotel, and we were trying to come up with different names, and I didn't realize the effect. Like I said, a different sort of disability or something like that sort of name. And quite a few of the guys were like, we need to change and move away from that. And at the time, I thought, oh, right, I've hit a nerve with someone here. But as time's gone on, I sort of realized, it can sort of separate us slightly and put us in a box that we don't really need to be in. We want to be inclusive. Like I've kept it in my social media handles because it's an easy way for people to find me. So it works for me, but I completely understand the thinking behind being inclusive and making you feel part of an organization.
Exactly. You look at working with, the guys at the OnCourse Foundation, and they're working with wounded, injured and sick soldiers. And actually a lot of those guys, they're leg amputees, they're got reduced function into arm, the spinal injury, or anything that, well, the fact that our disability open, any form of disability, anything that, you can partake in it. But, they would, normally do. And there's a lot of players there, but they don't want to come to something with that disability title. They would just rather play in something. So the Simpson Cup for them, much like the Cairns Cup, is a name, and above it, it sort of doesn't matter. It's about the players rather than, say, their particular sort of disability that makes them at that point. It just becomes about their name, who they're representing, and what score they shoot at the end of the day. And it's quite a difficult thing to balance, I think, in terms of this, that we know people are going to, some people, it is important. They want to see it. They want to hear that word because it helps them believe that we or that club or that activity is going to be welcoming and accommodating to them. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of, talking to quite a few people, especially in the last few years, there's so much more of your life that is defined by that, the application processes for benefits, for support, for adjustments at work and things like this. And they want to be known by themselves, and that, we want to offer that opportunity.
It opened my eyes. I was quite new to the disabled world when that happened, and it was I just remember it was Mark Smith, like great golfer. I played a couple of games with Mark. I haven't spent a lot of time with him, but he really didn't like it. And at the time, I thought, I've offended him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's when you think about it after, as I've been, around many people with different afflictions and different conditions and different things that some people might think hold them back, but it doesn't. That I've started to realize he had a very, very good point, and he made it in the correct way. So I've taken that on board, and the pirate thing come out of that. So I get a much more positive response now, where before people might go, see, are you like Mike Jones, the disabled golfer off like Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and it'll be you're doing okay though, and you know what I mean? That sort of that instantly feeling sorry for you. But now the pirate thing is more, they're interacting with me now, rather than seeing the disability has become secondary, or my leg amputee has become secondary. So that's a really good thing. I think that's really positive, and that's the sort of example I want to try and give to people is, I said in my Edgar stuff, I'm just Mike the golfer now, not Mike with one leg.
Exactly, and it's, it's one of those things. We the Girls Golf Rocks program that's been so successful for us, obviously had to, as everything did, hit the hiatus last year, in the pause. But the 2019, that program's been designed to work for young girls to tackle the issues that addressing them in terms of participating in sport.
Yeah.
Some of those are amplified to golf around, we all know sometimes the what to wear, what to feel comfortable in, what do you have to be good to even, good at golf to even go to a lesson at a golf club, sometimes kind of comes out within there. And that's a program that, had been tested, worked. And in 2019, we pushed it out to all the national disability sport organisations within England. And we had 21, 24 young girls who actually ticked when they signed up to those sessions that they had a disability. And it was on that club and that coach then to speak to them and understand what they needed to do to make that adjustment. And that just, the fact that that programme now will go to about 240 clubs, I think are due to run it this late this sort of summer. Those are those on the ground opportunities that if you are, it always comes into this, and you appreciate this in Wales sometimes, the disconnect there can be. But if you're in Cornwall and you're a young girl with a disability, waiting for a girl-specific disability program to be started by your golf club, might not come. Yeah. So if it's a girls program, if it's a junior program, if it's a women's program, we want people to go in and to embrace that and make friends, and it's making making those connections around the values of why other people are there. Are they there to make new friends? Are they there because they want to compete? And, is that what you want? Are they there because they want to get out of the house and try something different?
It's just giving them the support to go and try it.
Exactly,
I suppose is Wales Golf now have just got, that I'm always desperate to try and push as hard as I can with them to follow your example. You know that. That's just historical thing. But
to be fair, I take a lot of lead from them as well on some stuff. They're good at going. It is. They're good at pointing me in the right direction.
It's a good partnership back and forth. But obviously, Wales Golf are a much smaller organisation in numbers, so the finances are slightly different. But there are moments where it's brilliant. And an example of that is this Friday. They've helped with a short game facility that's opening at Park Golf Club in South Wales. And they asked me to go along and just check out whether it's inclusive enough, if that makes sense. But it was.
Didn't take your stint meter with you for the whole.
No. You? I dumped a couple of chips. They said, "What we asked this guy down for? He's a clown." So, but it's an amazing facility, and for us to even be involved in the conversation of, like, tell us what it's like from your point of view. It wasn't from a disabled point of view, just from your point of view, how you feel. You know more about how players can access this. And they've really thought about it, done a great job, and it's there for everyone. So there's no separate section. Everybody's in it together, and that's perfect. And they're doing their golf festivals this year, where they're trying to do an actual disability championship, I suppose. Yeah. I don't know the correct word for it, but it's an awareness day where people with a disability can go along and play golf and have a bit of fun. Little competition, and it's part of the festival now. It's not a separate thing. It's all together, which is exactly what you're passionate about.
Parker are a great example, knowing they've done some of the work with the Stroke Association and local stroke groups in the last couple of years, and they have properly as a facility embraced. That's what they need to be. They recognise that, yes, we've got people who are our club members, and we'll get into the retention and age and other kind of conditions in a bit, but they've got those, and they've got a core of that. They recognise they've got those who are coming, who are kind of aspirations to play golf or maybe be a member, but are pushed for time, money, family, all of those bits in between, and they've got the societies coming. But then they looked and kind of gone, where's the next bit? How are we still going to be relevant to to this area? How are we going to be known? How are we going to get people just to come and use it? And that sometimes is, we've got to fill a gap in terms of a facility, and sometimes that is we need to go out there and we need to create those opportunities, and we also need to create the links to get people to come across the line. We can't just build it and they will come, sort of thing. You've kind of got to go and do that community engagement, find out what it is. One of my favorite tips, mate. Favorite tips ever. Ever and around the golf. Well, actually two. One, golf club. Find out what charity. Ask them what charities they've raised money for in the last few years as captains and stuff, and you'll find out they've probably raised for their Alzheimer's societies, their Parkinsons, the children's hospitals and stuff like this. So there's opportunity. They've created some of the links they don't realise. And the other one I always do when I get to a club meeting, when we were allowed to do those years back, it seems. I'm pretty sure I didn't have grey hair at that point.
You didn't have grey hair when I first met you, mate.
that's the time of the job, mate. That is. Just go to the local supermarket and look on that community board. There will be the groups, the Slimming World groups, the yoga groups, the things like this where people want to do. You don't have to just be a golfer. You can do, you can be active in loads of things. Yeah. But they're there, and those connections, and just closing that gap, kind of really key in terms of that, and offering what you've already got to people. It's not necessarily creating something new. So it's not creating that disability session. It's saying, this is beginners golf. this is kind of what it looks and feels like, and here, come and have a try. And if you're not sure, give us a call or drop us an email, and someone responds to that, and that makes all the difference.
I think it feels to me as though that's what Edgar's advocate program is about. So there's a few of us that have become Edgar advocates. We've had our kits through, we've had our training, we've done a little presentation, but that's where I see us starting, building those gaps between these groups. So I've already spoken to the clinic I used to go to when I was having my rehab, who did PD warriors, Parkinson's disease warriors, where they get them physically really active. And I asked the guy who runs the clinic, can I bring the stuff along and then have a go? He said, yeah, definitely. Brilliant. It's a different activity. And then that can be exactly what you said about creating that link between one group and getting them involved in trying golf. And then possibly the ultimate goal could be joining a golf club, and then suddenly that loop is connected up. As you said, it's quite exciting, actually.
Yeah, and I suppose the part of the phase that I've kind of come into the last few years is, it's something I always knew, but kind of trying to get to the point of kind of creating the partnerships to change it. And Parkinson's is a really great one we're doing. Myself and Tracy, who's the manager for West Yorkshire over here, we realised it was about 3 years ago we first sat down and went, right, we want to get some activity started. We want to link up with Parkinson's groups with golf, and to get Parkinson's UK on board as a whole, and sort of spread the message. But those sometimes golf can take a little bit of time as well. But part of the resources we created for coaches and for the golfers as well, and the same as the work around dementia, is trying to just raise the conversation in the golf club and for those individuals with their friends or that person they know on the committee at a golf club to actually stay active and go, to stop them lapsing from the game when they get their diagnosis, when something comes up. And if that's some of the stories we've heard is, well, actually for some of the women who maybe want to play and still keep, they still want to come on sometimes on a Tuesday to play with the rest of the women's section, but they maybe can't get care for maybe their husband who's living with dementia, or affected by dementia. Sorry, I'm changing I was notified my language is changing today, so I'll always correct myself now. And so she might not be able to make that 9:30 till 11 o'clock teas that are reserved sort of thing. So, but actually she could get there for midday and still play, so could the terms of the competition just be sort of broadened so that as long as she's playing with another member, she still put that card in and still partake and sort of thing. So it's just trying to raise this and trying to help, increase that, because it is about, they ultimately pay the subscriptions and pay that, and it's a service, and you want them to get the value out of it and staying active and being active through golf, through being in the fresh air, hopefully it being, warm and sunny, as I know it always is in Wales.
I won't turn the camera around, mate, because it's absolutely lamping it down outside at the moment. And if you can hear, there's some strange noises. I'm in the kitchen. The wife has commandeered the living room to watch a RuPaul's drag race thing, whatever it is she watches. But the dishwasher's just finishing. So there's lots of gurgling noises. So it's not my stomach, it's the dishwasher just finishing. But it's like, that's a really good point you made, where my best mate was diagnosed with Parkinson's a year or two back. And I can see him physically finding it more difficult to play, and he's had to come to terms with that. But the clubs he plays at have been really supportive. Just let us know when you're coming, Gary. We'll have a buggy ready for you, and it's getting those people to feel confident in doing it. And as you said, it isn't just the people with Parkinson's, it's their carers as well. They're in a very, very similar position.
Exactly, and that's it. And it is that point, I think, the kind of that conversation, and I know the club manager's role golf club is essentially run, by a very small cohort of people for the size of the sport and the money involved in the game as well. But having that and having that ability and that confidence to kind of go and ask and say, look, you know what, I'm starting to, and I might not get the value out of being a full member all the time, sort of thing. Can I pause my membership, or can I just go to a pay and play on members' rates for a year or something like this? Just whilst
just give that flexibility.
And that is exactly then works for not just those that are potentially at risk of leaving the game, but also those new people that you're wanting to bring in. There is the escalator, the sort of the journey, and some people just will come and they will just hit balls on the practice range. They'll just use the putting green, sort of stuff, and that might be golf to them. And you know what, that should be fine. They're coming and using it, and then if they go and buy a coffee, coffee is one of the most profitable businesses there is. Coffee, pizza, and a third one apparently, which is banned many places in terms of it being an illegal drug, apparently, according to some kind of website, the Financial Times. There's these three biggest enterprises, and coffee and pizza are the two most profitable things in terms of what's in them. And so do that, and that puts money through, contributes to you in another way.
Extra revenue, isn't it?
That same way that if you can keep those people, if they're not playing as much golf, but they're still coming for the social events, they're still coming up on a Monday when the old boys go out and do their swindle on a Monday morning, and they come up for lunchtime and have a cup of coffee and have a sandwich with them and still connected to them. It's such a value that you can't quantify for them. But you as a club, on a purely selfish version, you're still getting that bit of custom,
generating a small bit of revenue and doing the right thing. So you sound to me as though you're just flat out continually, always busy. You are always busy. So it leads me now to the next bit I want to talk to you about, because I'm playing with Rob Moss tomorrow at Mendip Springs. He's the guy who gave me my first proper lesson after I lost my leg and got me on this road to insanity, but it's crazy. But I feel like I'm reaching the end of it now. I'm a better golfer now than when I had two legs. So my handicap's lower. I know the world system had a lot to do with that, but I feel like I'm a much better player than when I had two legs. But you're saying you're busy all the time. Do you still get to play, or as much as you'd like, or?
Well, I'll tell you a little bit. Last, as I'm pretty sure did for, hopefully in a positive way. We'd see for a lot of people playing. I probably did play a lot more last year, there was a period where I was furloughed and sort of stuff. And obviously, some of my immediate friends, some of them, their work patterns have changed. That not having to travel as well kind of created those opportunities. So I definitely did last year. At the same time, and the first thing is that coming into the gaming round and having played a bit of pitch and port and played a couple of charity golf days years ago, soon became clear that I wasn't as good at the game as I thought I was going to.
But you've got to be able to check out the way very quickly. That's good.
So the ego and just the realization of of kind of and I get, watching the Walker Cup this weekend sort of thing, and obviously investing, knowing some of the players, and obviously Nigel Edwards being over there as supporting the squads and stuff. It just makes me appreciate that even, their level even more. The pros, I can appreciate to a point, but I have that bit of disconnect because I just know it's so far away, sort of thing. But I wasn't as good as and kind of getting into that routine and that sort of bit of practice. So I don't do, and sometimes I struggle with everything that's going on and everything that's part of it. And I guess it's some people I often probably think this is Princeton has been quite negative, but I guess I don't need praising and telling what's done really well and what's done really good. I'm just always looking at what's the next bit? Where do we get to?
What can we do next?
Good. It's good to be better to be, to be excellent, and excellent to be, just world leading sort of thing. And And so, yeah, sometimes I do struggle to switch off and go and do. And I would try, I guess in some ways I'm trying to blame that, that on terms of the mentality and the mental part of the game that makes me hook it left and makes me
You're focusing on the important things, Gene. That's where you're focusing on the important things.
But no, actually, it's sometimes a reminder. A couple of times after work, we are quite lucky. When we are there at our HQ at Woodall's Bar, and to be fair, I'd spent a couple of days in the car and around, and I'd not slept particularly well, so I didn't really want to just swing my club. But I walked around with the four people in my immediate team, and they just played a little sort of match play between. So you've got Lauren, our women and girls golf manager, Lucy, who's the women and girls golf coordinator, who's fairly new and returning to the game. Matt Blair, our volunteer manager, and Lee Dolby, who's our junior manager at the time. And just going out and walking those 9-10 holes, I think we played, sort of thing. And Lucy coming and asking me, well, you've been around this for a bit longer. What shot should I hit from this tee and around? And me just saying, well, what do you normally hit? What clubs are you confident in? Because there's no point me saying hit a 6-iron if you've never hit a 6-iron in your life, sort of thing. But just being in that, and just sharing it and just relaxing in that space, and yes, it was a nice evening in Woodall in the summer, sort of thing. We're very lucky in that. But I think I forget those bits of the game sort of sometimes, or quite easily forget them to do. So yeah, there's definitely an incentive, the independent golfer scheme that we will be launching in June, for me to kind of have and be able to measure, properly my sort of index and build that point of then going, right, this is what I'm now playing and this is what I can consistently play at. And then, I'll probably rejoin the club that I used to be based at for my little office space prior to COVID as well. Although, like I said, there's now an ego bit kicked in because I want to be confident of what I play off before a lot of my mates who joined there last year going, so that if I draw them in the match play or anything like that, in any of the club games, then I know whether or not I've got a good chance or whether I'm gonna get handed.
I remember I first joined the Celtic, and I think I was off. What was I off then? 14 or 15, something like that. And I won a couple of comps, and I was down. That's right, I remember now, because I was down to 8. And I was playing the club captain he is now of the 2010, off 19, John McLaughlin, proper bandit. Well, he wasn't. That's wrong. He's not a proper bandit. He can hit the ball. So we play now. So I'm giving him a ton of shots, and he pars the first 11 holes. And it's basically match over, dog license. See you, Mike. See you next year. And I'm like, what the hell was all that about? He's sort of missing bunkers by inches, like creeping over the water, thinning a chip that hits the flag and stops them. And I'm like, it'll stop. This doesn't happen for it. Like, going part, like 7 up on the turn. Bye. And that was a bit of a reality check for me there. Oh God. And now I'm down, like, what am I down now? 2.5, I'm down to now. But the bit you said about being out with your mates, Sean and Simon, the two other directors involved in Great Days Golf. Sean was off, I think might have been as high as 16 last year. He's got down to nearly 8 now. He's hovering on 8, got the single figures. Simon was off 20 and he's down on his way down. But they're absolutely loving it. And when you're just out with them, and you see something fundamentally wrong they're doing, like, I'm not a PGA pro, far from it, but I can see if someone like Simon's doing a massive John Daly overswing, and I said, well, just hit it like half a shot, and suddenly he's hitting the ball every time, and he's buzzing because he's absolutely, and it just brings it all back to me, remembering that buzz of, my God, I can actually hit the ball every time now.
And that's it, I think.
So that side of it is great.
Yeah, and that's, I think, because we get quite focused to the club competition, the ultra competition sort of thing, quite early on sort of thing. But actually, just doing that and as I say, with most of my mates, generally we just, if I've had a couple of swipes out of the bunker and it hasn't come out or whatever, just chuck it out or drop it on the top sort of thing, and we carry on or whatever. And as you say, those mates will be like Lee, just sort of come and say, you when you're on the tee, really steady and slow, hitting that iron. Once you get there, you're rushing it. The speed is different, sort of thing. And like I say, just conscious of that. It doesn't, he's not telling me what club to hit. He's not telling me, my stance wrong, anything like that. But that's the thing, that one little thing. If you can get control of something, then you can start to work the rest around, because the rest of it, you get a bit of awareness of that, and that helps you become more aware of the rest of it. And Lauren, with the girls manager, represented the county. We've had members in Nottinghamshire. We had members at Woodall asking, tapping people on the shoulders and asking if she's professional, because she was playing off the yellow tees at Woodall, off the men's tees, and we were like, well, she has done a PGA degree. She could take up a pro status if she wanted to, but no, she's just a plus handicap golfer, and we're all playing off the yellow tees tonight, sort of thing. Just that's what we want to do, And she then says, do you want to do? There was a point of me which I think the last bit of advice she gave me was, we were on opposite teams in the get, so I kind of went, you saying this to get this hole sort of thing. I know. There's a bit of that psychology coming into it, but genuinely, she's just like I say, she sees that, and she's seen it across golf, she sees it in her journey, and it's just those little things. And sometimes that, I think that's the thing, sometimes that distance between people going and getting involved in coaching sort of programs and sort of roles and stuff is just that, is you have to bury your own ego sometimes, and they shouldn't tell you everything is, like I say, they shouldn't rip apart everything and start again, but it should be kind of, right, you need to kind of go and say, I'm just struggling with this, I don't quite understand why this is happening, and go and tap into that knowledge. That's, and that can start with a bit of a conversation with your mate or your partner or something like that. They can sort of make you over it, and then go and ask for that expertise and help you. Say you get control of one thing, that really helps you just to then know you can do that. So don't know about you, mate, but the only pro golf comparison I can ever have is that off the tee, 3-wood all the time. Not even going near the driver. Just too risky. 3-wood, me and Henrik Stenson. That's the only comparison to pro golf.
That'll do. It's a good one.
And I'm pretty sure Henrik Stenson's going to look at me and think, what's that guy doing at 5'11" versus me at 6'3" or whatever. But that's it. I've got that trust, and you've got that bit of control with it.
Exactly.
So I'd rather do that and know that I can keep it in play than think, right, let's try and boom this and sort of do. I've buried that bit of my ego in terms of my, my own golf at that point, and it's so easy to get carried away sometimes and into it, and just that you're on that roll, the adrenaline kicks in. Golf's got a great way sometimes of just bringing you back down to earth.
Tony Bennett invited me over to Portugal, and I was with Tony Lloyd. Tony Lloyd came over as well, right? Mm-hmm. Now, everybody was just blown away watching Tony Lloyd play on the range, and he's a superstar, right? I don't know to this day how he hits the golf ball. I can't do it. But even the top pros can't do it. They just can't, right? He's an absolute...
amount of flex in that shaft, because he obviously hasn't got his wrist to get that width.
An absolute God-given talent.
Yeah.
Well, we were playing, and I give a little talk at the Pro-Am dinner, but European Tour approached Tony and said, could the guy Mike who give the speech make a little film? And he said, yeah, he's a good player, you'll do. So they said, all right, we'll do the interview, and now they want to see me hit some shots, right? And I thought I was doing all right. I couldn't hit a cow's ass with the banjo, mate. I shanked the first ball. My driver, I topped a couple, sky. It was rank. It was the worst I have played. It was shockingly bad. And the day before, I played with Gareth and Tony and all, and it quite nice. Yeah. So I thought, oh, it's a disaster. But leaning on the fence and the practice, it's all the public watching. It's mine. Who's this guy they filming? Some superstar. Then I had oh, poor guy, he's rubbish because he only got one leg. I'm like, oh, bloody hell, give me a break. But Howard, Tony Bennett's dad, who coached Andre Carrington, right? He was watching me. And he came out, he let it all finish. And I went over. I said, oh my God, Howard, that was horrendous. I was so embarrassed. It took about eight takes to get one decent drive so they could put it in the film. And that was still like a 10, 15 yard cut. He said, Mike, I could see what you're doing. We'll spend an hour or two on the range. And Mark Taylor was there as well. Yeah. And they spent an hour or two with me, and Howard gave me the best tip I've ever had, which I'd never thought about. All the top players know it. And that's, once you hit the ball, just swing left. You know, everybody's trying to get a ball through on this line and through on that line. And I just couldn't do it, you know. And he spent the first 10 minutes was it in like a 20, 30 yard shot, swinging left. He said, look, it's not going to go left. It's going to go here. You're going to hit the ball and you're going to let it go left. And I tell you what, as soon as I got my head around that, now when I have my lessons, it's all about keeping everything on these lines. And I'm playing better golf than I've ever played. And I said, Howard rang me the other day because I ordered 2 copies of his book and he raises money for his ex-wife's charity. And I rang him. He rang me up and said, "Oh, thanks for buying a couple of more books, Mike." I said, "Yeah, no problem, Howard, and all that. How's the golf going?" I said, "Howard, why the hell didn't you bump into me when I was sort of 25? I could have been pretty good then. You know, I managed to get out to 3 all over the place." So he was going, "Oh, Mike, I just saw what you were doing. I wanted to tell you when they were filming, but it could have made it worse." It couldn't have got any worse. So, but you're right. You find out one thing that works, and then you just ingrain it, and it feeds through, and your confidence comes up, and you start hitting the ball nicely. So
it's the one thing. I think I went to watch the PGA when they were showing. They were re-leveling the assessments for kind of PGA level 3, you know, to become PGA pros sort of stuff. And they did the Belfry, and they had a guy who was a 5-6 handicapper, I think he was, and he pretty much started straight out with his irons, but it would just start to sort of move right towards the end of the shot, sort of thing. And so they were talking, you know, and basically gave a lesson, you know, as though there, and basically just did that, trying to get him to, you know, just, right, I want you to hit left. I want you to hit it as far left as you can. I want you to hit it as far right as you can, you know, so that he could feel the difference between it, you know, with his wrists and when he was blocking out and where, you know, and stuff like this. And at the end, you know, this 20 minutes got him back on there and feeling more confident, and it wasn't drifting away as far. And there's loads of PGA pros sitting on their hands because he's changed one thing, and they're going, right, well, you've changed the angle of attack, so now you need to change the club face, so now you need to change the angle of attack that he's coming in from. And the tutor's going, no, we're just changing that bit first, because I know you've got all this in your head and you can chuck it at it, sort of thing, you know, but you're just going to confuse too much, you know,
just
and they won't get
they
won't get the reward out of it, and they won't know what they're doing afterwards. So if they work on that, then they'll come, you know, the next time they come back or you see him and you say, "Oh, how are you getting on?" "Oh, yeah, it's great in this." "Oh, do you want to come in and we'll chat that out?" "Right, yeah, you're hitting that great. Next 20 minutes, right, let's get your hit drop down a little bit more so you can get right behind, you know, and then you can work on it. It's a confidence and a buy-in.
It's a base.
It always comes down, and it always comes down like the first question of any coach training that I've sat in on and sort of stuff. And you know, for the record, me not being a PGA pro, I've just, as we were writing the contents while I was in on the golf stuff. And the scenarios there, this is, you know, there's a blind golfer called Stephen, you know, he's come into the Zoom. What's your first question? And mine is it Stephen, Steve? If you got a nickname, you know, is there anything, you know, you want me to call and anything you don't want me to call you, sort of thing, when we're working together? Because that's the first bit of building that rapport, you know, because if you keep calling them Stephen when they're a Steve, you know, it's like I'm a Jamie. Some people love calling me James, and it, you know, it infuriates the hell out of me.
I'll remember that. When you're 3 up before to play, well, James, you're not having that putt.
That'll be me, God. That'll be me storming off. But yeah, you know, it's those things, and then you know you can find out why they're there. If they're just there to give the game a go, there's no. You just want to make it. So you want to set some little challenges, some little games. You want to, if you've got a top tracer day, you want to go and use that, or something. You know, you want that. That's then you pick between that. You're gonna have 1 in 10 that's going to come in and say, "I want to be the best disabled golfer." I had a guy today asking me whether or not I knew what the lowest handicap of a bilateral amputee was in the country, to which I was like, I think, and he's not technically in the country at the minute, James Hurrigan. I'm pretty sure James played off
James,
one.
He's down
2.
low. He's definitely category 1, low category 1.
Yeah, I was sure he was at like 2.1, I think, a couple of years ago when he played in the Disability Open sort of thing. So I was like, that, you know, he's wanted, you know, this guy Nick just wants to target. He's kind of knows Mike Rolls in Australia. He's played for about 6, wasn't he, sort of thing. So he was just like, well, I played off 8 before, you know, before he lost both his legs. So what am I, you know, where does he want to go? He wants to be even better than 8 now. So 6 wasn't good enough. He wanted to, you know, so now he's targeting 2.1.
I'm a better player now than when I had 2 legs. That's just a fact. That's just by doing it the right, you know, doing it the right way. I played with Mike Rolls in at Metropolitan when I was over in Australia about 18 months ago. It's in miles, absolutely miles. But do you know who won the day? Jeff Nicholas won the day.
Yeah.
Or Jeff Nichols.
Steady away. X knows the game.
He's got to be coming up 60 now, I think, Jeff. Oh my God, he's just incredible. You get up and down from everywhere. It was just.
As Nigel says to our performance squads, you know, it's built on that short game. You know, it's built on that. That's where you lose the most shots. That's where you can do, like you say, that recovery, get up and down, put it within 3, and when you're within there, you know, the percentage chance of you hitting that putt goes up from 4 feet. You know, start going to 5 and 6. It starts to become less and less. You know, sort of thing. So that's why that's a huge focus for players that come in.
Build the rest around it.
Yeah, they can do all the strength stuff. They'll, especially as a lot of, you know, I mean, they just seem to be getting younger and younger, or maybe that's me getting older. That they seem to be getting younger coming into them squads. But they, you know, their bodies will develop. You know, the fact is getting them to be active in other sports is a huge one as well.
Yeah,
and I think that's another part. Just, you know, in terms of disabled people as well, you know, just anyone, you know, you don't just have to be a golfer. You can still play a bit of football, you can play table tennis, you can go and play cricket, you can play hockey in the winter and come back to golf in the summer. You can, you know, even if it's esports sort of stuff, if you want to, you know, want to play, be World Tour golf champion online, you know, sort of thing, and then come down the range in it, that's fine as well. And just if you're more, you know, just more active in that, it'll help, because again, it's awareness, it's confidence, and again, that helps you focus on what you can do. That if you come up against that point where just cannot hit this 7-iron, doesn't want to go any further than my 6-iron, I don't, and it doesn't, you know, there's no difference within it, then, you know, that helps. There's something else you can go and do. You don't have to be so, you know, completely focused on that. And having, as much as we enjoy going out and the release of golf, you need a release from golf sometimes as well. And that's, you know, that's an important part of it. And sometimes it comes to your family, your friends, and, you know, as hopefully as we're allowed to sit inside soon with the, you know,
it won't be long
in a week's time when it's still raining outside, you know, you can still sit inside and watch some sport in a pub, you know, sort of thing, rather than huddled around your iPad outside on the doggy.
So what's your plans coming up now, Jane? We're getting sort of towards the end of our chat now. Our time's getting close. Zoom is flashing at me. So what's your plans for this year, mate?
So we've obviously got kick-starting quite nicely on rescheduled 21st of June or 22nd of June at Whittlebury Park is the English Amateur for golfers with disability. So as usual, a gross net and a Stapleford comp. We've added a women's event this year because we wanted to have a women's event to bring more women to it and attract, rather than waiting for there to be 10 women to run it. So hopefully that helps us build towards actually having a separate women's event. If we get 10 players, then rankings points wise, they can sit in their own comp alongside it. We obviously kind of just developed this stuff with Parkinsons around World Parkinson's Day, and we want to continue to kind of, as those groups and those, you know, people are reconnecting and coming back and looking for activity, we want to kind of connect more of those groups back to the game. And obviously last year we should have been hosting joint hosting the World Deaf Golf Champs, which meant to be at Forest of Arden. Obviously COVID put pay to that, but we committed to kind of looking at tackling the kind of deaf kind of inclusion within that, and actually doing some proper sort of work. So with UK Deaf Sport and England Deaf Golf, and working around Warwickshire and Birmingham to a bit like the Advocates, kind of get some of the current deaf golfers with some of the skills, with some of the kit, to go and make those links and have the clubs that are going to be more deaf aware, and for them to link up to, and so really set that. We've had it in tiny little patches, but we really sort of want to just go and prove the concepts with that, and additionally just to keep revamping. We've got a new Get Into Golf will be refreshed for next year, and we want to include, you know, some more of the stories, more video content. So kind of reaching out to some of the the golfers who've come to the game or are still in there, to add those two and change the way that looks, so that there's who we want to come and play the game is represented in that. And obviously within my role as well, that crosses over to sort of LGBTQ plus inclusion and ethnic diversity as well. So some really good conversations with some of the organisations and golf groups that are working around that. The Black British Golfers that I spoke to the other week, you know, for them, and again, just for them to, some of that stuff that we're already doing, to champion for some of the stuff, to come and ask questions and actually understand, you know, as always, understanding what it is we're doing. How does the talent system work? Did you know there's England Golf Trust, and young golfers could be applying to there for funds and stuff? And just on top of that,
what's the best way for someone to get in touch, Jamie?
Either my Twitter, my work Twitter is ENG, or England Golf DIS, DIS. I haven't changed it to include the inclusion bit just yet. Or just drop me an email on jamie.blair, it's jamie.blair @englandgolf.org. And ultimately, you know, we will try and find, if it's looking for something locally, clubs that are already working with, programs that are already running, you know, and those introductions, those facilities, they're already looking to reach out and sort of be more representative of the community. Essentially the way we want it to be. You know, we want more of those park golfs, more of the Leicester golf centres, more of the Durham cities, more of the, you know, the Preston golf clubs, just, you know, more of the Trafford golf centres, more of, you know, just more of these, just doing a little bit more. And if it's, you know, if it's that one person, if it's that one disabled person, that one amputee, that one golfer with Parkinson's, that one golfer, you know, with short statures, if that's 1,800 affiliated golf clubs in England, so if every one of them just have one, the impact that we can start to make,
it's huge. And those people are out there, and I think a lot of them, unfortunately, are not aware they can participate. So that's where I gotta say, Jamie, as we're wrapping up now, you're doing an amazing job. Every time I see you, you're just so busy doing the right things, and you're inspiring me to sort of try and reach as many people as I can. So keep doing what you're doing. Sometimes it might seem like a thankless job, but I assure you it's not. What you're doing is making a difference. I see the pleasure on the England boys when they're going off to play in the European Championships and the individual championships. They absolutely love representing their country. And I would love Wales golf to get into a position where we could start putting teams in as well. So, and then we can have a proper, well, you can be up against a proper side then.
I'm going to say either that, mate, or I'm just going to move the border and take you over this side.
Well, I'm getting closer to the border now. I moved out recently, so if I move another 5 mile, I could be close to jumping into Gloucestershire. And I'll see what I can do. You might not want, the other boys won't want me, I expect.
Hey, competition's always
anyway,
good, but
Jamie,
Mike, I know, appreciate it, and thank you for for keeping in touch and inviting us on and sort of thing. And as you say, I think the one thing I know I said about mindset, we're sometimes quite detrimental to what has happened, to what is going on. There are clubs, there are people wanting to make golf within their area much more open, much more accessible, and much more representative. And we do tend to look at the what's to still do rather than than the what's happening. So it is, and as you say, I always value your sharing of stuff that's happening as well. That helps keep me informed, because I can only be as good as actually what disabled people want. And what they're coming up against as well. That helps keep me busy, so I can be tackling the right things. So I appreciate it as well, mate. And hopefully Rob doesn't beat you up too much tomorrow.
You got no chance, mate. I carried him in a pro-am. I hope he listens to this. I carried him in a pro-am at Western-super-Mare when I was off like 13, and he come in on the first and the last, and that was it. And we won the comp. You won a lovely Titleist golf bag each. So he's going to have his work cut out tomorrow with me, mate. And I'll just nobble him anyway. I'll just give him a dead leg or something. So I'm really
plus presumably you've taken your leg that's got the GPS device in, and and everything like that as well. I
got the all singing, all dancing one on tomorrow. I think we're going to get wet. It's going to tip down with rain. So who cares? I'm just really looking forward to catching up with him. I haven't seen him for a while. I haven't seen him since COVID, so it'll be really, really good. But as I said, thank you so much for coming on the Pirate Podcast in association with Great Days Golf. You can catch all our videos and our podcasts on our YouTube channel at greatdaysgolf.com and Great Days Golf YouTube channel. Sorry, I just said that twice, but I don't care. I always repeat myself. Anyway, Jamie, it's been great talking to you. Thanks for coming on the show, and I can't wait to see you in person soon, because I'll be allowed to give you a hug from Monday, mate.
I need to put a bit more meat on the bones. If you're going to hug me, it's gonna hurt. I need to get to the gym first.
Anyway, James, it's great speaking to you. Always fun, and I'll see you soon.
You too, buddy. Take care, man.
Bye, Jamie.